Social media, it's a problem. It's an addiction for so many. It's causing people to go crazy. Hi, I'm Maria. Strong Body, Strong Soul is the show, and I'm so excited to welcome Lori Oberman to the show today. She's a therapist. Normally, I'm in the studio doing my podcasting, but today we're on video. I love reminding people about all the beauty that is out there in the world for us to enjoy. Put down your devices. But for today, I invite you to eavesdrop on our conversation. I hope you get a lot out of it. Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Strong Body, Strong Soul show. Obviously, you are looking at a screen right now. But today, we're going to be talking about social media addiction. I'm Maria. This is the Strong Body, Strong Soul show, and I have Lori Oberman with me. She is a fantastic licensed marriage and family counselor in our area. Where do you practice? Where are you stationed right now?
Thank you. I'm stationed in Westlake Village, so anyone nearby, Agora, Thousand Oaks, Westlake, please come and visit LoriOberman.com.
Nice. And you have a lot of experience tell me about your history with the school district. You worked with them for many years.
Yes. Before I went to private practice, I worked in the school system, LA Unified as well as Las Virgenes Unified Schools. So elementary, middle, high school. So I work with all different ages. And clearly in private practice, I find that you get the best results when you have all the people at the table. So I love to do family work. I do a lot of family therapy. I run a bereavement group. I'm going to be starting parent-toddler time. Nice. So all different stages of life as we go throughout our life. I think that we all need a little bit of something to help.
Yes, definitely. And I'm hoping this show helps people out there too.
Yes.
Because I think we all go through our lives, and so often we feel like we're hearing the same thing over and over.
Yes.
Of course social media is addictive.
Yes.
Of course you shouldn't have that much screen time.
Yeah.
But do we do it?
No.
It's a part of life.
Yes.
Some of it is a part of life, and it's about that balance, I think. So I think it's so fascinating. I'm so excited that Lori has taken the time to be with us right here, because your career path has taken you through the schools into private practice, and you're getting a lot accomplished. And I really am so excited to hear your insights about social media. So let's first off talk about what makes it worse now than it ever has been.
Good question. So let's review history, right? The World Wide Web didn't come out until 91, okay? And then Facebook came out in 2004. And then iPads came out in 2010. So we're in 2019 right now, so it hasn't been a decade of the iPad. The reason why I say specifically the iPad, more accessibility. Mm-hmm. It's in the schools, it's in our hands, it's in toddlers' hands, it's in everybody's hands, and there's so much screens available at all times.
Right.
And so I was licensed in 2008. So there was no diagnosis in the DSM at that time. There was no such thing as screen addiction. All these things are very new to our world.
Right.
And we need to be aware of it. So obviously I know that screens are here to stay. This is part of who we are.
Right.
But it's like, well, do we have an addiction, or do we have young people, and how are we going to set rules and boundaries that would be appropriate for our family in today's world?
Well, I think it's so interesting that you talk from a historical standpoint, because even phones were meant for the grown-ups, right? Doing business.
Yes.
It was a business thing. Mm-hmm. First the beepers,
right?
Yeah. Right, the pager on your belt.
That was really special for doctors.
Yes. And then it emerged into the phones.
Yes.
The phones in your car. I remember one boss
They were huge.
It had a cord on it still at one point.
Yes.
But phones were for the grown-ups.
Yes.
And over time...
And for the elite.
Yes.
And for the elite.
Yeah,
right?
first the elite.
But it's so accessible now.
Yes. And I think that even the small DVD players, people, you remember those? I mean, people would be on the airplane with them, right? And your kid starts crying.
Yes.
And you, quick, give them the DVD player, quick, a movie to distract them. And it starts from such an early age.
It does.
Right? So we've got up the ante a little bit. Mm-hmm. Even, I don't know how many people even have DVD players anymore. You don't need it.
It's almost obsolete at this point. Yes.
So it's just gone. That's why it's so key to what you just said about the iPad. The iPad has replaced that because it's more manageable. It's easier to stick in your purse or your backpack or whatever.
It's more mobile,
you know, it's bigger, the screen. You can watch a movie better on an iPad screen.
Does look better.
Or yeah, and it's not as large as a laptop.
Yes.
So the kids are using those even more.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about the schools. What are the schools giving the kids?
They're giving iPads, right? So I think that it's important. So from kindergarten on up, it is part of learning, which I totally understand that it does have a really great component. But there's an aspect of how long are they on the screens at school? And I know that they have functions to make sure that it's safe. But a lot of kids are savvy nowadays that they know how to get off those, parental controls. And so be very aware. And if you're checking, how often are you checking? That's a good question to have for you and your partner. How often are we going to do this? Are we going to look at the history? Are we not? Are we going to give them complete carte blanche?
Right.
Are we not? So these are just all questions as you're parenting. We didn't need to talk about these parenting issues 10 years ago, literally.
Yes.
These are all new and pressing issues that we need to be aware of as we're raising our children, as society is changing literally by the decade. Yeah.
Right. Now, let me just say before we continue that obviously Lori and I are not techie experts.
No.
So there are a multitude of companies out there that have services to help you monitor your kids' social media. I'm not sure how effective they are, or even if they're around. I have found myself that my kids, like you just said, kind of get around stuff anyway.
Yes. They're very savvy.
Yeah, families can go in there and set the limits on time, set the thing to shut off at 10 o'clock, or mirror their kids. But I have a hard enough time myself. I can't imagine
to get off
monitoring
the screen. I know other people
too. It gets tricky.
It's very hard.
So,
and you don't want to turn it into a battle or a huge power struggle, because who wants that at 10 o'clock at night? Nobody.
Right.
So I think, just setting house rules around it, just like, if you don't wear shoes in your house, are we going to have shoes around screens?
Right.
So, I mean, it's a whole other way of thinking.
Well, from a therapist standpoint, the word addiction is no joke.
It's no joke. And there's no, this wonderful author who I want to note, because if there is a true addiction, please look at this book. You can get it at your local library. She is here in LA. I believe she works at UCLA.
Wow.
But Victoria Dunckley had coined the term ESS, electronic screen syndrome. It's not in the DSM at this point. There's nothing in the DSM to say it's an addiction dealing with screens. But all of her work is stating there's clearly stuff going on related to how much screen time.
Okay.
Psychosis, ADHD, more depression, lethargia, even psychosis at some point, depending on how many hours your child is on playing video games. So she's seeing major mental issues happening, but obviously that's a very extreme example. But in general, I think it's important to think about, well, what kind of limits am I going to set for myself as an adult with my screen? But what am I going to also give my children?
Right. Now, we were talking earlier about how it's a global issue.
Yes.
I know that you have a lot of insights on it's. What are other countries doing? Are other countries in the world experiencing the same phenomenon?
Yes, good question. Yes, the World Wide Web is a worldwide problem now, obviously. So I think that internationally, they're always a little bit more ahead than America, right? So in America, with my research, there was a couple different, you can send your kid to a wilderness program if there's real major addiction going on.
For electronic addiction?
For electronic addiction specifically.
Oh.
But I would say maybe there's a handful, like 3 or 4 agencies, like one in Colorado and one in, that are very specific to
like
screening.
A rehab.
Like a rehab. It's exactly to remove all screens. But when you think about it, you would have to go to the wilderness to remove all screens.
Wow.
Right?
Yes,
Just like a drug addict needs to be away from any type of drug or ability to get to drugs. Right, that's why they're in a secluded.
This is so scary because that's probably expensive too.
Oh, very. But I will say, like, if you look in Asian countries and cultures, they're way ahead of us. They have multiple addiction facilities because they realize this is a problem and we're going to do something about it. Americans like to sweep things under the rug, to be honest with you. So we're a little bit behind the times. But I think this is important that we're talking about it now. Yes. Right? No time like the present. So let's think about, well, what kind of rules do I have currently in my home? Is it working? If it's working, that's great. Yeah. Keep going. If it's not working, or if it could be made better, not only for your children, but even as a couple. I know some couples that don't do screens on Sunday nights because that's just their screen-free night. Some people do screen-free nights. Do you do screen-free dates? I don't know. You know what I mean? These are all food for thought, things to think of. Because I know when I'm on a date with my husband, I'll get a text and, oh my God, did you hear it? And so I even get distracted. So I'm saying it is a problem even for anyone, even if you're a therapist, okay?
Right. I remember being at a Thanksgiving meal, huge table of people. And someone's like, oh, look at my friend in China. They're doing this. And I'm like, well, we see each other once a year. And, the people in the room.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And there's so much distractibility.
Wow, yeah.
And I think for us as adults, we didn't grow up with this. So we're learning what boundaries we need to place on ourselves as well as our children.
Right.
And that's really important. Yes.
All right. We're going to come right back and talk about solutions.
Yes.
For people out there. So I hope you'll come back and join us. And Lori Oberman talking about
I know.
social media addiction. But come back.
Did we hook you yet? Did we hook you?
Yeah, I think we'll talk about it in a minute.
Yeah.
Some pointers and some ways to be aware and conscious in your consumption. Thanks for being here.
Isn't Lori great? I hope you're having fun listening, and I hope you remember to subscribe, comment, and share. Turn on those notifications so you are alerted when new videos are released here at the Strong Body, Strong Soul Show. Here we go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am here with Lori Oberman, licensed marriage and family therapist, and we're talking about social media addiction. Right now, we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about how can you tell that it's a problem?
Good
How
question.
do you know?
Good question. So are your children hiding their devices? Is there been a change in their behavior? Meaning, are they more agitated? Are they more lethargic? Do they get irritable when you ask them to put it down? Of course, yes, right? Because all children are going to be.
Yes.
But is their grade performance? So are their grades literally dropping? So this is obviously for more older kids. But I think that it is really important that a lot of outburst, frustration tolerance is much lower for younger children. iPad goes away. And also it's very interesting. The research shows that if you have the glow, that light before bed, how it really affects the chemistry in a growing brain. And if you have hours and hours of glowing screens on that brain that is trying to develop, it really has an adverse effect.
Right. Just like watching TV.
Yes.
Too.
But the TV is further away. The screen is right here, close up, which also they've determined has an impact, a negative impact.
Yes. Wow. And just that energy, when we were talking about a moment ago, just getting on here, thinking of passwords for everything too. Like how many apps do these kids have? And they need their passwords and they need all this different stuff. It's using so much of their brain.
Yes.
That could be used on other things.
Well, it's like clutter. It's not real. You know what I mean? It's all clutter. And that's what the concern is. It's, are they reaching their full potential? Or are they just captivated by something because of all the bings and whistles and to be liked? And all of that has a dopamine surge. I mean, that's exactly what addiction is, right? A drug addiction is a dopamine surge. It makes us feel good. But every little being, there's massive amounts of money going into research of how addictive can I make this game so we have the most people purchasing it. So they'll literally literally put electrodes on brains of gamers and say, how addictive can we make this game?
Wow.
A lot of money is being spent on this. So it's really, disheartening. And when you think of all the big kahunas, why don't they let their children have screens? Why don't they let their children have phones until 14? So these people that are creating it are not allowing their own children to have it. It's like, let's think about that.
Yeah.
They know something's going on that they're not really relaying to our society.
Right.
And it's really important. I want to share really, I know off topic. Tristan Harris, he used to work for Google, an ethicist. So working for this big company, a young guy was so excited, he quit. He quit his big paying job because he couldn't ethically go on doing what he was doing to make sure that it become more addictive. So he's now, he's got this big kick, look him up online, time well spent. Really interesting food for thought to think of. So is a really interesting person to
he's like a whistleblower.
Whistleblow this whole system of what's going on. And we don't really think about, we just really like the bells and whistles of being liked.
Yes. What's his name again?
Tristan Harris. Time well spent.
Okay.
So definitely look him up. It's very interesting information to just think about. Let's be critical thinkers about what we're ingesting.
Yes. Well, because I have to, like we've been talking about that balance.
Yes.
It does become a part of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
I was at an event recently that was about meditation. A lot of it was about meditation and balance and mindfulness. But at the end of the meditation, they're like, okay, get your phone out and take a picture of the screen so that you can get your free download on Twitter and the Google and the Facebook
And so
page.
let's get connected.
It
gets you out of that mode.
Well, yeah, but it's part of the way our society is going. Like, we're not watching TV anymore very much.
No.
Most people that I can talk to have they feel like they have too many TVs in their house.
That is true.
People
that they're
aren't
not
watching
using,
the
they're
TVs
not using
anymore, right?
Yes.
Because they have their iPad, their phone.
On their fingertips.
And they're all watching it in separate rooms.
Yes.
Without talking about the same show. There's no Little House on the Prairie anymore.
They've gone.
The few and far between.
Yes.
And we live in an area of the world that admittedly has a little more affluence to it.
Yes.
So, but I still think it's rare out there that people don't have so many phones in their lives.
I think
it happens.
It used to be an accessibility issue, like when we were talking earlier about pagers, and it was such an elite thing. But now phones are accessible to young children, to teenagers, it's to everyone. It's so accessible now that it's a human problem.
You know what, too, I have to say, at church every year at Christmas time, we pick a family and we buy them gifts. It's an adopt a family thing, right? One year I remember noticing the 15-year-old kid, he wanted an iTunes card. And I was thinking, if we're talking about what you need, survival needs, food, shelter, and so I think that society is thinking that a phone is an automatic necessity.
Yes.
The kid needs an iTunes card.
It's really sad.
And it just surprised me so much. I was like, no matter what your economic level is, a lot of people have the phones, whatever brand, Apple, whatever.
It's so accessible
Android.
now. It has nothing to do with finances.
Yeah.
It is part of our world, and how are we going to utilize it in our world at this moment? And we have a choice. We do have a choice.
Yeah. So, and making a choice to not have any devices at all and to cut yourself off is a choice as well that few have made out there.
Yes.
Probably no one on here because they're all watching YouTube.
Please keep watching. No.
But that's extreme.
But you can also put boundaries.
Yeah.
If you're going out on a date night with your husband or your wife, should we say no screens? Is one going to leave their phone at home literally?
Right.
So you don't get the distraction of the text or the Bing or the whatever it is. Are you going to
What about your sex life?
Yes.
It's like people are waking up in the morning, rolling over and picking up their phone.
I do it every morning.
And it's like, well, what happened to cuddling? And what happened to morning sex?
Yes.
It's really affecting relationships in a very real way.
Yes. And I don't think people are really talking about that because, I know my phone's on my bedside, right?
Yes.
I turn mine completely off. Some people don't. My husband does not. He keeps his on all the time. So everyone is different. Everyone has their own comfort level of what they're willing to do with their phone and not do with their phone.
Right,
and I think this is just a critical conversation. Think about it. Do you want to do something different? Is what you're doing working? Do you feel like needs to be a little bit of torquing and changing and
and bottom line is that whole idea of compassion.
Yes.
Everybody does things differently. So if I go to my kids' school and there's a family there that has no TVs in the house, they don't do any social media at all, no judgment. But it is true, we can't deny it, that they're going to miss that PTA meeting because they didn't get the email.
Well, and
so
yes, and is your
child hard to balance?
Yeah, is your child? I don't obviously a lot of screens in my home, but is my child not as cool because he doesn't play those video games. I'm really worried that he's going to be socially inept because that social connection, but is that true social connection?
Right.
So now we have to think about, is it a false sense of connection, which it clearly is, because why is everyone on Facebook so sad? There's like been depression rates have increased significantly, and then when all the research says when you go off Facebook for 2 months, you're much happier because you're not being evaluated by your peers, you're not seeing what your other peers are doing, you're focused on you and your family and what is going on in your world.
Right.
Not looking outward but looking inward.
Well, and we're trained to go to the painful stuff. If you see a bunch of newspapers and one says the weather's great and another one says get ready for the big storm,
it's sexier.
The bigger the storm, the more people are going to buy that magazine or paper. We all know this, and the same is true on social media. But for me, what I talk about so often is that conscious use of it.
Yes, being balanced.
Yeah,
we know it's here to stay. Clearly it's in our life. But do you need to change things in your life? Do you need to change things in your home? Should you have rules or boundaries set for yourself as well as your children? This is not just a kid's issue. This is a human issue.
Yes.
So, maybe talk with you and your husband, or, you and your wife about, how are we going to move forward? I've noticed that this is going on. These behaviors have been excessive. How are we going to do something different together?
I think it's beautiful too to go back. I remember when my dad first got a phone, right? And he was an older. So I would say sometimes it's the older generation that even gets more hooked on it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my grandma, she had to watch a certain TV show at 3 o'clock every day, right? But now it's accessible all the time. But I remember when my dad first got a phone, and I remember as an adult even being annoyed because he would have the phone in his hand, in his pocket all of the time. He had all of the notifications. Anytime someone voicemail, who called me? Who called me? Who called me? I'm like, Dad, we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to go back.
Distraction is so common.
But that awareness of being kind of hurt and annoyed by that makes me aware of my own behavior to my kids. Because I do notice once in a while now, I'm not lying, my kids will be like, oh, Mom, get off the phone. Mom, I won't text while I'm driving.
That's good.
I will not.
That's
but
good.
I will hand my phone to my kid
and
say, text Daddy and tell him we're running late.
But this is how our world works, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, what could be so urgent that I can't drive for 20 minutes and have the person on the other end? Everything is so urgent now.
Well, immediate gratification. I think we're just used to that. It's like our way of being now. And that's why, impulsivity is on the rise, because we want everything immediate, everything, and so that's why addiction, because we want really great jolts of dopamine all the time. You know what I mean? That it's like, that's not really healthy to be at that flight or fight state. You can't be at that level all the time. So it's having that balance, having that middle ground.
I think it's so cool the way you defined, by the way, the way to tell of an addiction. Because it's the same as true with anything. The first thing that popped into my head is food.
Food addiction,
because
drug
when
addiction,
you're hiding your candy bars, hiding candy bars, hiding that bottle of vodka, hiding that device, is just as bad. It's similar clues, red flags, red flag warnings, that irritability. If for my dad, for me to tell him to turn off that phone,
horrific, right?
So very interesting. And that frustration level of the kids. Now, what book are you
So I am a big proponent. So Glow Kids is phenomenal. They have in the back of this book, they have signs to look for, a whole laundry list. We don't need to go through that, but it's a fascinating read. Something going on in our chemistry from this glow. What is this doing long term to us, to our brains, to the developmental stage of children? We don't have kids that are adults at this point because it hasn't been out long enough. What are those relationships going to look like? What are those marriages going to look like? Just because it's accessible to us doesn't mean you need to, have it part of your world.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should at the level that we find ourselves being pulled towards it.
And it is a pull. We're consumers. Be critical thinkers when you're a consumer. All these things are going on. We're not aware of how They're even, like,
Now, Lori, the places that you found in the United States
Yes.
for treatment, what states were those in?
Colorado, I think Florida. I mean, there's only a couple in the United States.
So
there
people
are
would
definitely
need to
more,
travel.
Yes, there are definitely more in international, places.
Yeah, interesting.
But also internationally, they're willing to talk about it more than we are. Because in American culture, we like to, hide our shame. So this is clearly, there's addiction going on out there for not only children, for adults. People are addicted and they don't realize it, whether it's gaming, whether it's on social media. There is addiction going on with screens.
Right. Well, I think people in the U.S., a lot of places, to speak of something in a negative way, critical thinking is considered complaining and whining. And we're trained to think that way.
Yeah.
So
just to be
it's
cautious.
difficult. Yeah.
Just to be cautious and mindful.
Perfect. Yes.
No, I mean, I'm not saying don't do that at all. I think that it is here. I think it's how people are connected, but at what level and to what degree works for you and works for your family.
Families don't need to go cold turkey.
No.
But once in a while,
but
evaluate.
either screen-free Sunday, and then we're going to go outside and go on a hike every Sunday. You plan something, or maybe a day is too much. Maybe just for an evening. So from 6 to 9, we're not going to allow anything.
Right.
Whatever works for you, there are options, and I think that's important to know that there are options.
Yeah.
We don't have to just live our life like a mouse, just because it's like handed to us. Okay, let's run with our phone forever.
Yeah.
No, you can put it down.
Yeah.
You actually will continue living. You will continue breathing. You might have a panic attack about it if you shut off your phone, but no, I mean, it's true. It's like, if someone asks you to shut off your phone.
Right.
Think about that. Well, what if you're not connected to your children's school? Or, what if they have an asthma attack? What are they, all these anxious moments will come into your mind.
Yes.
Can you let that rest?
Right. Well, and on that note, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys take off.
Yes. Thank you.
And thank you so much for spending some time here on the show with me, Maria. Strong Body, Strong Soul is the name of the show. This is Lori Oberman, and I'll put information to find her in the show notes here. I'll also put the names of some of the books that she's recommending for you guys, if that'll help you out in some way. Thank you so much for your time. Bless you always. And make sure to be as conscious and aware as you can be in your life. Thank you.
Don't forget to go be silly with your family. Or get outside in nature and away from those devices on occasion. Give yourselves a break. But subscribe to this show if you like the content here. I am Maria. This is Strong Body, Strong Soul. Keep coming back.